Welcome to the Kali NetHunter podcast, where we talk about the big questions of a hacker's journey, how to get into cybersecurity, how to be a pen tester using your mobile phone or even a smartwatch to hack all the things. Kristopher Wilson, the first one who installed the rootless Kali NetHunter on a car audio. I would like to welcome you to the show. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm fine. It's a good afternoon here. It's not cold in the UK here, but we can't wait to have a good summer now, which is gonna last for like 2 days and then it's all gone. That's I just would like to ask, how did you get into the cybersecurity?
So first, I wanted to say thank you for having me and inviting me. I was really blown away with the project by far. But really, honestly, how I got started in cybersecurity is a crazy unicorn story. So I started off the in IT in the Army Reserves. And from there, I saw a TikTok video um, from a guy named Chris, a really great guy. I'm good friends with him now. And he was posting videos about a degree path on how you can get into cybersecurity and get a cybersecurity degree. It comes with a bunch of certifications. So I went down that road through this college, and the craziest thing happened while I was there attending this college. I did an anonymous news interview, and in the interview, they masked my face, they deepened my voice, they anomalized everything in this anonymous news interview. And I was covering a story on how these teenagers running around with a Deoth watch and a Flipper Zero, and they were brute forcing rolling codes on vehicles and breaking into cars and stealing valuables, and they're using the Deoth watch to take the ring cameras offline so they couldn't be traced. So you just see them walking up the street and then your cameras would just shut off. So I was doing this news story, and in the interview, they did all this stuff to mask my identity, but they showed my street in the interview. And a local cybersecurity company, one of their employees, this guy Dan, a really great guy, nice guy. He was able to reverse engineer the information within the news interview and find my records of through public records and figure out how or who owned the house and things like that using the street view and just matching everything up. And then he invited me out for a drink. And so I got talking with this cybersecurity company. And yeah, next thing I know, I started working with the company. I enjoyed working with the company. Great group of guys for, 2, 3 years, really enjoyed it. And then from there, it just took off. Finished the bachelor's degree, finished a master's degree in cybersecurity and information assurance, and now I'm working on a PhD in offensive cyber engineering.
That's really interesting, yeah, to see a journey like that where you kind of invited somewhere and then it kind of chain reacts all the way to the degree. And yes, by the way, yeah, it's funny that they mask you like you are a black hat, or they completely try to anonymize you. But yeah, showing the little details are showing the perfect breadcrumbs for all a synth. Yeah. Yeah, so really glad you did Kali in a car. And it's also really glad to see, yeah, we are developing the Batmobiles of, yeah, the 21st century.
Yeah, it's a fantastic project. I came up with the idea and just had the what if question back in 2024 is whenever I actually completed it. Um, and I got to thinking about, vehicles are computers on wheels now, and with how advanced everything is. And so the Honda Civic Type R, all black and, the red interior, it is just a perfect car for it. One of my favorite cards out there. And I've been a big car enthusiast. So I thought this would be the perfect car for it. It reminded me a lot of Kit from Knight Rider because the Honda Civic Type R already has a lot of tech that goes into it. So I decided that, if the head unit itself is running on Android, is it possible to run Kali NetHunter off of it? So the OEM head unit itself, back in 2021, the hardware, you know, back then was obsolete for Termex and Kali NetHunter in 2024. So I ended up going aftermarket, but I wanted to keep things in scope. So I still wanted to have that Android version with more upgraded hardware. So basically on a what if, I paid $1,700 to have it installed while I was working, and then from there I was able to side load Termex and NetHunter, and it worked. I was very ecstatic about it, and it worked pretty well for a vehicle's head unit that's not supposed to be doing these types of things. It's completely out of the realm or the idea of what a vehicle's head unit is capable of.
Yes, that and it's really good thinking. I can't wait to have to see car radio with open source kernel, which I know is not likely to happen because it all has to be really, really closed and not exploitable. But yeah, I just can't wait to see some cars with antenna sticking out of the head unit, or even having Nexmon or the new QCLCLD injection patch, which is just blown up. I think it really blown up the internet of cybersecurity people, the community. Yeah, and Hondas. Also, I love Hondas. Unfortunately, I needed a bigger car now to pack some stuff in and have family. So I have a ST Focus, so that's kind of like the UK version of the Honda Civic. But back in Hungary, I had a 99 Honda Civic sedan, like 5 door. But I loved it, even though it was, just little engine, high RPM. It was really fun. Not Type R, but it had my subwoofer in it, which I still use to this day. And it was like 10 years ago. Yeah, that's
Yeah, the
absolutely
Hondas
perfect choice.
Hondas are fantastic cars. I've owned personally total of 10 different Honda vehicles, most of them being Honda Del Sols, if you're familiar with those.
Oh,
So
yes.
it's I've owned a total of 8 of them. So I've absolutely loved them. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, and actually those are rare, isn't it? I think it was rare or it became rare for sure, just like CRX.
Yes, they've become pretty rare within the last recent years. I think there's maybe roughly ballpark maybe 10,000 to 40,000 left on the that are
Hmm.
drivable on the road in the United States, and that's just a crazy number that I can think of because I mean it's very difficult to find one in the United States for under 5 grand.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, and you know what I love about the Type R that, even though these are even the new ones are, we are in 2026 and every car manufacturer just wants to go with the touch screen. Everything is touch screen. And then Honda still has the knobs, for volume and for the air conditioning and all that. So physical knobs. So, you can set things while you're driving. You don't really need to look there. Whereas, you have a Tesla and you need the touch screen to open the glove box. That's a bit of shame. And what you can do if the screen is broken, like, you just lose lots of functionalities. You
Oh, for
can't open
sure. And
stuff.
for sure. And the amount of connectivity there that we're going down and that we're getting so connected with our vehicles is kind of crazy in my eyes. It's We're jumping into it all and not really thinking. We're treating the vehicles as, IoT whenever they're becoming more than that. Um, and there's a big security gap whenever it comes to vehicle security. So, there's not necessarily a specific framework or designation for vehicle security. They're just throwing AAOS into these vehicles with and treating it like IoT.
Yes. And on one side, I can understand that they need to cut the price or the expenses. So, prices don't go really high. And I get it because some new cars are really, really expensive nowadays. I remember back in the day where my parents had to do X amount of work and years of work to have a car, whereas now it's you either get it for like a monthly uh, payment or just wait a lot until you get one car, especially newer cars. Uh, but yeah, I see. I see, and I love it where this is going, having Android in cars. It's going to be really fun. I also want to develop the NetHunter for Android Auto. So if you actually plug in your phone, then the app and the terminal and even the VNC client can go straight onto the screen. So it can be used from there. I'm not sure how usable that would be, you know, in while driving or any OSINT, but it would be really fun. It's just we need a lot of time and we have real work and life.
Oh, absolutely. It. I think that would be also a fantastic approach too. In case you don't want to root your head unit. Prime example, here recently, I tried to root my head unit. I installed it rootless, but I tried to root it and I got stuck in a boot loop. So now my head unit's ineffective. So I've got some
hmm
ways that I'm planning on troubleshooting that. I was thinking about taking uh, I was planning on trying to take the OEM software from the original head unit, wiping the new one and putting the OEM software on the new head unit. So I'd still have, the OEM software for the Honda Civic Type R. I may gain some functionality, I may not. Um, but hopefully that works out. If that doesn't work, then I was just going to fully replace the head unit, uh, probably with one that actually has buttons instead of just solely touchscreens. That way, when I'm messing around with it and trying to go rooted, I have a way to escape that boot loop.
Yes, and we don't really have any documentation of even these. So I'm not sure. Did you try to route your aftermarket radio or was it a stock?
It was the aftermarket radio.
Yes, so I
So
also had one like that. Yeah, go on.
I found out that it was actually possible to root it, but the issue with it is the manufacturer of the head unit. Um, the issue that I'd found was with the rooted version or boot package, it was locked. So I needed to get this new boot package from the manufacturer, but in order to do so, I had to go on their website and find their Google Drive file. But the manufacturer had actually deleted it. So
Mm.
instead of double checking everything, yeah, I got too excited and jumped right into it, and then coming to find out that it was completely locked.
Mm. Yeah, things happen when we try to do innovative stuff. Yeah, and it's not like a phone that you can just get the replacement boot EMG for anywhere or even get into. Yeah, as far as I've gone on my one, I got into developer mode, which was a huge pain to find out, but actually it was a really easy pin code. I'm not sure if anyone needs it. I think it was 345 543, so it was a relatively easy one, but one of the rarer ones. So I needed some time to find it, and only I could get to enable so unlock the bootloader toggle in the developer mode, but I didn't go further because I couldn't find any resources for that and any way to get it rooted. But yeah, I can't
Oh,
wait to see Yeah, go on.
So yeah, the whole idea of the project, it wasn't supposed to be perfect. It was the whole idea behind it all was, is it possible? So it wasn't, trying to replace, a laptop or trying to replace, NetHunter on a phone or anything like that. The whole idea behind all of it was, is this possible? And once I figured out that it was possible, the next step was, okay, what all else can it do? And how efficient is it? And it's absolutely not efficient at all. It is the biggest headache in the world. It's so slow, but it works. And the whole,
Yes.
and I just kept getting thinking of all these questions of, we here in the United States, when you think of, cyber criminals and you see, the FBI raiding homes and, law enforcement doing investigations, they're going after hard drives, they're going after your cell phone, they're going after your computer, laptops, tablets, you name it. But are they going after your car's head unit? So
Good question.
it if anything, I think they're going for GPS data, but they're not specifically looking for, Net Hunter or, uh, you know, Net Hunter Kex or looking at any of that specific data. And then most of the time, too, whenever I was running around with it, I was using my data off my mobile hotspot, which, and along with a VPN. So it's, how it just begs to the question, how difficult is something like that going to be able to be traced? And the other aspect of it too is, if you see someone parked outside your business with a laptop and your infrastructure starts acting funny, uh, it's a little bit suspicious. But if you see, a vehicle just parked outside running by itself and a customer walks inside, leaves it outside for maybe 20, 30 minutes and your infrastructure starts acting funny, it's a little bit less suspicious. So the stealth aspect of it there is definitely there. It's going to be a little bit harder to figure out, I would assume. But these are all things that I'm going to be covering later on in my dissertation and my research papers.
Yes, and I definitely see the point there where we also have the mobile phone and the smartwatch and now the cars, that it's all more stealthy now. And yeah, if you walk around even with your phone, then that's really not suspicious anymore. Like back in the day, people walked around with the laptops or even walked probably or parked to buildings with a big van to have the team or have the environment in the back of the van. But yeah, this really opens doors for the future. So it's definitely a good stuff. For thank you for doing that and taking the time. And yeah, congrats for that paper you did.
Thank you.
Uh, just remind us, how did you get the idea to actually have it in the car, if I missed that?
So how I ended up getting it in the car or thinking of it, it was one of those 2:30 in the morning what if questions that popped in my
Mm.
head. I was just going through Security Plus and uh, yeah, I came to realize, I had my CompTIA A plus, Network Plus. I was working on Security Plus, and I knew about Kali NetHunter around this time, and I've been using Kali Linux for since 2020 ish. Um, so whenever I've figured out that NetHunter was available and it was available on Android devices, I kind of figured, I wonder what software my head unit's running on. And I found that it's running on Android, and I just kept jumping down this rabbit hole. Well, what if I do this, or what if I tried that? Uh, well, what about the hardware specs and limitations? Is this all compatible? And come to find out, it was back in 2021, but this is where I ended up needing to get, the aftermarket head unit that closely resembled what was current and what is currently current in most automotive in most vehicles for what they're running. So my head unit, is running Android 12, and most vehicles now are running Android 12 or 14 with their Android Automotive OS that's now being integrated. And there's a huge list of manufacturers that are using it. And in fact, on the article that I wrote on LinkedIn, I actually went to a car dealership, found a Honda hybrid, and I was looking at the specs for this Honda hybrid, and it's not very easy to walk into an automotive dealership. Hi, I'm a hacker. I would like to install some hacking software on your car. So most manufacturers don't and dealerships do not like that idea. And most of the they're there to make money and sell cars. They're not super in-depth technical because it's not their job. So it's very difficult to explain what you're trying to do as a cybersecurity researcher and an ethical hacker of, hey, may I have this vehicle for maybe 30 minutes to an hour to try and install software. But what I was able to do is do a little bit of social engineering and tell them, hey, I'm a PhD student, PhD candidate. I would like to look at some of the software specs and hardware specs on one of your cars. And come to find out that the the software and hardware specs actually exceed in this Honda Civic hybrid. They exceed what my current head unit has in both software and hardware. The only thing that was lacking was it had 4 gigs of RAM instead of the 8 gigs that my head unit has with the 12 with like the 4 extra gigs of VRAM. So it's possible, but I don't think it'd run that great, for a vehicle just right off the showroom floor. So that's something I'm still wanting to test and dig deeper into and try to find an auto dealer that will let me install NetHunter rootless on their head unit.
Yes, it's definitely a good idea, and yeah, getting into it is not easy. Also, you also have to be kind of lucky to get a person on the other side who also is willing and is interested in it. And yes, in the meantime, you can do the rest of the things. I noticed that sometimes if you progress or with something, when when one of the timelines are not ready for you, you progress on another thing, or you progress with your school, or you progress with your job or family or hobby or art. Then when you get back to the original one, then it's kind of ready, and it also can kind of signal to you when it's ready, or you kind of actually feel it, or either that's ready for you or you are ready for that thing. So yeah, just keep doing it. You're doing great. Also the 2:30 a.m. idea, I had kind of same with the watch. So at one point I was like something like that. I think it was like 1 a.m. for me. But yeah, I was getting ready to do something on the I'm something with Kali. I don't know what, usual evening or nighttime when I was developing something. And when I had a couple of minute break and I was, having a snack, and then I was just sitting for a minute, or just staring in front of me, just kind of daydreaming at 1 a.m. So thinking about stuff, and it popped in like, oh, okay, nowadays, so it was like 5 years ago. Nowadays, smartwatches are really getting popular. So maybe a one smartwatch has TWRP or any root maybe. So then I noticed that the TicWatch Pro had root and TWRP, and I was like, okay, I have to do that. So it took me as well, I think, a year after that, and then another few years to have the TwicWatch Pro 3, but it slowly came into my life, and I'm really getting it, really fun. And the things I learned there, the patience, the inspiration, the passion, and all that really helped me on other sides of life. Do you actually have any NetHunter phones? Are you looking
So
to get one?
So I don't currently have any NetHunter phones. So what I'm using currently to suffice and that space is I have a Rogue Ally. So it's a handheld gaming PC, um, and I've got I've got Kali Linux installed on it, and I can connect a keyboard and mouse to it. It's fantastic. But for phones, there's a couple phones that I'm looking into. So me personally, I love the use of Samsung, but I'm planning to switch over to a Linux-based phone. Uh, so the Pine Phone Pro is definitely one that I've been looking into. And there's also another phone called the Zero Trace phone that I've been very, very interested in. I mean, it's got a lot of fantastic tools on it. I've got the Zero Trace pen. I've used it. It's definitely very interesting how using a little USB that's in a pen and booting from this USB, and it's not using very much of your actual hardware to run this pretty much OS. It's and to become untraceable is fantastic. I absolutely love it. So I'm really split between the PinePhone Pro and the Zero Trace phone.
Yes, time will sort it out. Or perhaps you get both in the future. I also remember you kind of added AI to the chain in the Honda. So what was it used for? What did you end up doing with
Yes.
AI?
So this is kind of funny. So I was essentially kind of being a little bit lazy with it, and because it was going so slow, just trying to fix it. So I was running into some issues because it's not constantly updated. I do use the head unit, every day for driving around, for navigating, listening to music and things like that. Um, but there for a while, I just didn't update it. I didn't update Kali NetHunter. And
Mhm.
so after about months of trying to update it, I had 1,500 deprecated packages. And so every time I tried to update it, it would, pop up, update this package, or, there was something wrong with it. And so I'd have to go through and update every single one of them. And this is where I used um, OpenClaw Opus 4.6 along with uh, it was Claude Opus 4.6, and I used OpenClaw within Kali Linux and a VM uh, to along with Tailscale in order to root into uh, in order to remote into my head unit via Tailscale, and I got it into I got AI from my desktop in a virtual machine to remote into my head unit and to go through and try to fix and solve all these packages, all these problems that I was having with these packages, with the updates and things like that. And come to find out that AI gets mad. It gets very frustrated whenever it's trying to solve 1,500 issues. So, and it was super, super, just slow because I was running it off the car was connected to my phone using the hotspot, and my desktop was connected to my Wi-Fi in the house, and so the AI, I said, go ahead and try to fix it, and then it was taken. We're about 3 hours into it, and I was sitting there just watching it work. The head unit is giving me updates on Telegram, and I was super excited about it because this is kind of the one of the first AI project or agentic AI projects that I had going, and I came to the conclusion that it's better to wipe it clean and start over from scratch and do a completely fresh install. And sure enough, it did it. Did the full the full package install, it was I've got 128 gigs of storage in the head unit, and that's another thing that most newer vehicles are going to run into. Issues they're going to run into is they may not have a lot of internal storage. But with this, letting AI install it, it took an additional 2 hours to go through and install it because I was getting so the speeds on my hotspot were so slow, is so painful. Installing. I think it was what 20 something gigs for the full NetHunter package or something like that.
Mhm.
So imagine doing that off your phone's hotspot. So it was very
Yes.
slow, but it
Mm.
worked and it was fantastic.
Yes, I can't wait to see the future of this. So you're definitely paving out the road for the future hacking with cars. That's really nice. May I ask if you use any AI for anything else? Of course, many people use it for everyday searches, but did you use AI in your studies? Not just to work instead of you, but to actually help you either in your hacking journey or cybersecurity journey, or in your studies or in your everyday life. How reality works and stuff like that.
Yes, I use AI to help me brainstorm and I bounce ideas off of it. It's fantastic, especially whenever, time and money is a constraint. It's a fantastic resource to bounce ideas off of back and forth and build, just kind of a plan and plan out theoretical situations. And in fact, since nobody's ever installed NetHunter on a car's head unit before, whenever I used AI and I bounced the idea off of it, I said, "Hey,
Mhm.
what if we put NetHunter on a car's head unit?" It actually came back. It's not possible, and told me it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, oh
Well,
yeah,
no one did it,
watch."
but
But I do use AI a lot. It's AI is a great tool if you know how to use it correctly, but it's not a replacement. So one of the things, one of the other projects I've been working on was I created this giant GitHub repo. I call it the hive mind, and it was one of those 2 a.m. ideas, and me and some buddies were just kind of bouncing ideas back and forth, and I told them about how used uh, you know AI to remote into my car's head unit and fix a lot of these issues I was having. Um, I said, "This is crazy. What if we, what if we tried to do it all for bug bounty?" And everyone had this idea for using it for bug bounty.
Mhm.
It's not one of those ideas that, oh, I came up with it first, and no, everyone's using it. A lot of people are using it for bug bounties. So it's a fantastic tool, but you have to be extremely cautious about it. So I've got 17 AI. For like 3 months, I was using 17 AI for bug bounty and pursuing bug bounties, and they each have their own individual roles, and in fact,
Mhm.
got an AI that ensures that everything's being followed within the scope of the bug bounty program. Because the very first time I just had my first AI agent and pointed out to a bug bounty, it almost caused a day breach. So and almost went completely out of scope, and it was just overly excited. It was trying to exfiltrate exfiltrate like 53,000 files from this company or something like that. Somehow managed to get admin access, and it was trying to go. I had to shut it down and pull the plug and hold on a second. Let's go back in scope, make sure we didn't pull or extract any customer data from this company, because we're about to get in some serious trouble here. And so this is where this one specific AI ensures everything stays within scope before anything's executed, everything. So me and some buddies were thinking about using AI for pen testing and hacking, and everyone else in the industry. First thing they thought of whenever agentic AI became a thing and OpenClaw was released and became a big hype was use it for bug bounties. And so we kind of did the same thing. And so we were brainstorming, at 2:30 in the morning. Well, what if we did this, or what if we tried that? And so I ended up using my AI to help me create a giant GitHub repo with tons of information. It's got uh, a record of 389,000 CVEs that are being
Mm.
updated daily. It's got 58,000 nuclide templates. It's got tons of different attack chains. And, if it sees a vulnerability within, a bug bounty that's within scope, what it will do is it will map out the different vulnerabilities, because some vulnerabilities on the surface are symptoms of other vulnerabilities that are a little bit more significant underneath. So if it sees something along the lines of a server-side request forgery, uh, server-side request forgery, there's the possibility of an RCE. Uh, so that's one of the things that built into this thing. I mean, the entire GitHub is, so little over 1 million lines of code itself, and it's just great. And it learns from every individual pen test. So it will turn around, remove any sensitive information from that pen test with that company. It will anomalize any critical information, and it mainly focuses on what worked and what didn't work. What avenues of approach worked, what didn't work, what things were tried, what things went well, and it goes along those lines. So it's constantly learning, and these 17 AI are constantly pulling from this GitHub repo and actively learning and talking to each other. It's great, and I've got it. It's all in my Kali Linux VM, and I've got it pulling directly from my GPU, and I'm running a 3090 Ti, so it's got plenty of space, and I've got 64 gigs of RAM. I allocated 32 gigs for this VM, and roughly uh, I've allocated 2 terabytes specifically for this virtual machine. So it's a beefy virtual machine.
It
And
is,
it's
yeah.
it's got it's got tons and tons of different tools. I think it's got roughly 100. These 17 AI have roughly 151 different pen testing tools, um, based out of what is offered in Kali Linux. And I've also started installing some other GitHub tools, but I've been a little bit more cautious with that because it's not unknown for malware to be found in GitHub repos. So I'm very cautious about that also. But yeah, it's fantastic. All these different AI have their own tasks and their own roles, and they're all subject matter experts within this role. And I've been working on it, and let me tell you, OpenClaw, well, using OpenClaw and Claude Opus 4.6, it's not cheap for doing all this. It is
Mm.
not cheap. So I'm looking for different ways to make this work. So one of the things that I'm looking at here recently is I ended up getting a Claude subscription, um, and I'm trying to connect Claude Cowork into this Kali Linux VM, because it's Claude isn't necessarily, from what I've seen, unless something has changed in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Um, it's There's not necessarily a Claude desktop app for Linux,
Mhm.
and I think that was probably intentional. Uh, so that's one of the things that I'm currently working on doing, trying to save on costs. So I may lose some functionality, but cost is a really big factor, because at one point I was using within a week roughly a billion tokens. So
Mm.
it's quite a bit. It's expensive, but it's fantastic. Using AI for hacking is a fantastic thing. It significantly hallucinates. So I've got three separate AI that are fact checking each vulnerability that has been found within within the bug bounty. I call it this whole orchestration of AI. I call it the AI swarm, or I call it the swarm because it's a swarm of pen testing AI that are all working together simultaneously, fact checking, making sure everything stays within scope, and they're all just making sure that everything is legitimate, it's not hallucinating, and there's an AI specifically for questioning everything that is being reported from the other AI. So it's great. That there's been a couple mistakes that I've learned from. Prime example, whenever I was first getting started into it, I started out with maybe about 10 separate AI, and I forgot to turn on a VPN, and uh, I forgot to turn on a VPN during one of the pen tests, and my well, one of the mm, uh, one of the large WAFs out there, web access firewalls that's out there, it threw my IP address in their 72-hour block list. I didn't think it was too big of an issue until I tried to log into my bank and from my Wi-Fi, and my bank was had actually, I didn't have access to my bank because my IP address was temporary banned. So it's yeah, AI hacking. It can be a lot of fun. It can be very beneficial, but I mean, you've got to be very cautious. What I did a bug bounty for a food delivery service that I actually personally use. So I was very excited to do it, and I had used and so my AI agent had actually logged into my personal account to do the testing instead of using the test accounts like it was supposed to. And
Mhm.
what ended up happening with that, it got into the GraphQL database that they were using, and it took around and nuked my personal account from their GraphQL database, and it ended up bypassing MFA somehow. I think it was from a previous login, and I
Mhm.
think that's how I was able to get around it. So yeah, that was definitely not fun. But on the bright side, it saved me a lot of money from not ordering food. So I mean, it's a lot of fun. It can, if you know what you're doing and you know what to look for, it's a fantastic tool. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can really cause some damages because at the end of the day, even though I nuked my own personal account using their database instead of going through, their app and, and and canceling my subscription, this that, and the other, I kind of caused a little bit of a data breach and uh, damage the integrity of their document of their data. So I ended up reaching out to them, let them know, hey, this is what happened. This is how it happened. This was my account. Here's the documentation on the report. You can go back through your event logs. Here's my IP address. This is everything that should have been coming from. And they were super ecstatic for letting them know. And it wasn't that big of a deal since it was only my account. Now had it been the entire thing,
Mhm.
that would have been a big issue, but since it was my own personal account, things were good. So
Yes,
and
good.
I'm just so thankful for the platform that I was using. It had a safe haven approach, and it made things made me feel a little bit more comfortable because that's one of the big scares is It's, when you're going through pen testing or ethical hacking, is, lawsuits and the law enforcement coming down on you and locking you up.
Yes, we need um, a proper contract to, have it out everything in the deal. But you definitely, your IP address in the previous story was on fire. Have you? Yeah, yeah, I see. You need a team leader AI for your other AIs, and you can be their managers. So, and is it actually turning out like, is it profitable? Like you said, you're using a bunch of tokens and AIs. Is it working out good? Was it like, if I can ask, was it like, losing in the first few times?
So the craziest aspect of it is, when you think of, a normal bug bounty, you're looking at, a week to a month, and just to submit your first bug bounty. And within, a month, I was able to submit or have roughly around 20 to 30 reports. I could
Hmm.
do an entire clean sweep of an entire company within a couple hours, depending on how large their infrastructure really is and how large their scope is.
Yeah.
So the only thing that would really slow me down is the VPN. But other
Mm-hmm.
than that, it's fantastic. The downside of it, though, using it for bug bounties, is everyone else is doing the same thing. So
Yeah. See.
there's tons and tons of duplicates. But the good thing is, though, the duplicate reports prove that it's working. The downside of it, though, is I'm not getting paid on it. So I made $50 doing it.
Mhm.
So someone thanked me for the work and stuff, and got $50 out of it. And of course, I went through and verified it, and I was guiding the AI
Mhm.
and what to do and what to look for and how to approach different things. And it's fantastic because red teaming isn't necessarily my strong suit yet. That's why I decided to
Mhm.
pursue a PhD in offensive cyber engineering. So it's one of those things where I know kind of what to look for and how to approach different things or different findings. And I know how to set things up, but I still need to go and get the OSCP because I feel like that would help me significantly with what I'm trying to do. Now, it's not profitable at all so far, but I think to make it profitable would be to start my own personal company with it or something along those lines because it's fantastic if it can go through and do a bug bounty on a very large company in a couple hours and then find all the vulnerabilities and then generate a massive report on it. It's not going to be very difficult to turn around and patch all those issues using the same AI that found those vulnerabilities. It wouldn't be hard to turn this into an MSSP. Would not be hard.
Yes, that's really good. Yeah, it's good thinking. What about uh you sent me a good link about that Google is actually open sourcing some of the radio stuff. I'm just gonna maybe share it here. Yeah, so that will be open source, the automotive OS platform, and it's actually about a month old news. So that's really good thinking. So I just wanted to plug in here that actually said nothing is open source, but yeah, it's actually turning open source now. That's really good. We'll share these links in the podcast or under the video description. I also heard that you are doing some music with AI, so you're using also for that.
Yes. So when it comes to the open source AAOS, uh, I'm very excited about that, but I'm also very skeptical about it in the same idea of security. But it's going to be
Mhm.
fantastic, but I think it's going to open a can of worms, um, because when it's open source, everyone has access to it and can make modifications to it or be able to uh, work on it. So I think it's going to be. I think there's going to be good and bad things that come of it, especially whenever you're integrating AI, because trying to use NetHunter on your car's head unit while you're actively driving, I don't think is very safe, and it's not easy to do. But when you have AI there to be able to get into your car's head unit and get into NetHunter, then it you can just text it or call it and have it run pen test commands and pen test tools uh, while you're actively driving, hands free. So I think that's one thing I'm very excited about, though. Now, whenever it comes to the music aspect of it, I ended up making a AI concept album. So I wrote the lyrics, and had found some AI tools to turn the lyrics into music. And the whole idea behind it wasn't, to release it publicly. Was just for personal use and, a way for self-expression. Uh, but I shared it to a couple of friends, some of the songs, and they really enjoyed it. They said, "No, you need to release this to public. I will listen to it." Um, but it's pretty much tells the story of, my journey through cybersecurity. It's all based on, experiences that I personally have seen, or things that, you know are going on in the industry, or, everything from, you know you know I mean, it contains everything from, just think if you've ever been to DEF CON, think of, the DEF CON parties and the raid
Hmm.
parties. It's got that genre of music in it. It's got some synth wave. It's fantastic. So one of the biggest songs out there right now that's getting the most listens to is called "Hack the Planet." It's it's a very fun song, but the entire album itself tells a story of, where I'm going in my cybersecurity journey. What I'm trying, where I'm fitting in. It goes into the ethics behind everything. It talks about, the concept of black hat hackers and, their different backgrounds, what caused them to turn black hat, whether it's just a kid out of curiosity and then destroys his entire school's infrastructure and locks all the admin out, or whether it be someone within government that, sees, uh, just some very suspicious things that the government's doing, like, unethical surveillance and things like that. So they turn black hat and, start releasing that information to the public. um, it's got stories of all of it, and the whole album is called Undefined, and my alias on it
Hmm.
is Null. So with SQL, Null is, it's there's a variable there, but it's unknown, or it's undefined. And so that's kind of where feel like I fit in cybersecurity right now. Is I don't have a designated role. I've been called, a hacker, a researcher, an analyst, architect, an engineer, but I don't think any one of those specific titles fits me perfectly and solely, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of just undefined, and that in itself is its own role. And so it's got anything and everything you can think of within the album. The whole thing tells a story.
Yeah, also it's so true. It's been said that, you have everything in you and you just need to find that you perfectly align with, and it will just flow. You'll feel it. You're definitely on the right path. So I'm glad to see that. And we can share your music in the description again if people want to have a listen to it. And I'm really happy to see this on the AI aspect of things, that if it's using, so if it's being used for personal development, then it can definitely act like a mirror. So then, of course, it won't replace friends or relationships or family, but it can definitely act like yourself in a mirror, or in higher self, or something that you can't even put into words, but you can, express how in your language what you can to that, and then it can mirror you back and can help you grow. It also helped me a lot recently. So, you know, many people are burned out in the cybersecurity field where either they don't know what to do or they want to do everything as soon as possible to, you know, get get higher on the ledge, or, it's a natural thing that people are in the habit of the ego, that you want to get through it, you want to reach the goals quicker, because you think that if you reach it quicker, then you can get back to normal life quicker. But at the same time, many people are just not capable of that, and it can really affect negatively on the outside world. So you have to also improve yourself inside, then it will all project to outside. And just I tell all the time that the time is there for you. It will wait for you. The machine will be there. At nighttime, you need to get enough rest so you can progress everywhere during your day. So we definitely have a listen to the music and interested. I listened to a couple of tracks, but I didn't spend time on the whole of it. But especially now that I know it's kind of like your story, or yeah, your your story, your journey, essentially. I'm really interested. Using Hack the Planet on the other side, it's really nice. So I love to use that. So I'm not sure if it's a cliche to use that, but it definitely has a feeling in many of us that's very positive with the movie. When I first heard it, yeah, I just gone mental. It sounds so nice, and I love the movie as well. I also wanted to ask, we're getting to the last few questions. What are you most proud in your cybersecurity journey or career?
And there's so many different things that I'm proud of. Uh, I would say I think one of the biggest accomplishments by far is um, being featured on the Kali Linux 2026.1 release blog. I mean, that's a big goal, and I thank you for that. I think a lot of the NetHunter or a lot of the guys at OffSec for that, for giving me the opportunity and presenting itself. And I got uh, my old CISO to thank for that too, because in 2024 I think our company at the time was doing something, and I think he showed it to the OffSec team. He said, "Hey, one of our cybersecurity architects, he put NetHunter on the car," and he said that
Mhm.
the OffSec team was over the moon about it. So I'm not sure if you saw it back in 2024, if or who did, but it's it's fantastic. It's not that's a big thing, and I don't even have the OSCP yet, and I plan on getting it, but that's a really big accomplishment. I'm very thankful for. Some of the other things too is the military. The military helped me out quite a bit, and so there's just so many different things that fell just perfectly. That I just want to do cool things, and I chase the what if rabbit holes, and it a lot of them just come out to be just fantastic things. I'm very excited about, master's degree in cybersecurity, bachelor's, all the certifications I'm very excited about. And then this PhD too, because it's rare having a doctorate degree in specifically uh, a cybersecurity major as your PhD or doctorate degree or anything along those lines. It's rare. I think there's only 7 colleges in the U.S. that offer uh, a doctorate in
Mm.
cybersecurity as the major. So it's very very rare. It's a very very niche field. So I'm very excited
Oh,
about that too.
yeah, definitely making history there. So yeah, and for me, like hearing all these, it sounds like you're constantly getting positive feedbacks from the outside, so you are on the good path. Uh, Also, would you give me, or for the audience, if you have one advice, what can help you or what helped you most during your recent time or life or even your hacking journey that can help others?
The biggest advice that I have is to stay curious and do not be discouraged when you fail, because with every success, there's a million failures behind it. And sometimes those failures are the biggest teachers that you can ever imagine. No certification or education or amount of studying will teach you faster and quicker and more in depth than failure. You only fail when you quit. So if you keep persistent at it, you're going to eventually get it. Find a way or make one, but don't give up.
That's really nice. Thank you for that. Yes, many people get get stuff either late, but they don't give up. So it's definitely yeah, a good help.
Yeah, it's very interesting too. It's so whenever I was in high school, I was hacking whenever I was high school using a little Android phone, and I was using some I don't remember the name of the tool that I was using in like 2013, 2014, but I wanted to figure out what my parents were getting my siblings and I for Christmas. So I pulled off a man in the middle attack to figure out what they were getting my siblings and I for Christmas. And when I barely graduated on time in high school. Most of my report cards were D's and F's or C's. And so I'm sitting here now with a 4.0 GPA average on and a doctorate degree program. And it's I graduated with a 3.0 or a 3.5 GPA and my bachelor's and master's degree. So it's, if even if you don't think that, you're not smart enough to do it, go for it. Find out what interests you and, just don't give up.
Yes, definitely a good help. We do that in Healing Hackers. So if anyone's interested, you can check out healinghackers.github.io. It will be in the description as well. We kind of help each other with some guidance. We tell each other some stories. You can come there to vent or even ask about NetHunter. You can just anything if you're interested in anything. It's just a free space to talk, really. Also, the website talks a little bit about nature of reality, quantum physics, slightly mentioned there, if it can help you on your journey. Uh, yeah, I would like to thank you for coming to the show, and we are really glad to see you. Uh, I wish you all the best on your continuing PhD. I wish you success. I'm sure people are gonna be glad with your work. And
Mm.
same with your AI journey. If it's not earlier, maybe then later, these bug bounties or these projects gonna catch up and maybe it will get you a profit. So you don't know what time you find a bounty with like, they pay you like $50K, it's like for something like seems like a simple one, but it's a really serious one.
Yeah, and I want to thank you again for the opportunity. I'm truly honored that you found my project and you're really excited about it. It's been a really really big. It means a lot to me, and thanks to everyone that helped me get here. So it's keep on trucking on.
I think it's all we all wish that kind of with
Oh,
our hobbies, then the hobby becomes a work that's not really a work anymore.
oh, absolutely. I mean, there's just so much in the cybersecurity landscape that's been just constantly evolving so fast. It doesn't matter if you get a doctorate degree or anything like that. It's you're never gonna know everything. It's it's crazy to me that
Yes, and you
just
don't
knowing.
need to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me knowing that when I graduate and I'm considered the subject matter expert in the field, I'm still not going to know everything, and I'm going to probably honestly know less than most people. So uh, it just baffles me. It's one of the cybersecurity is one of the only industries where you can be the subject matter expert and then get left behind because of how
Yes,
fast everything's evolving.
exactly. And the more you know, then the more you realize how little you know actually.
Yeah, I'm really hoping with this dissertation it helps. I don't know. I don't think I went too in deep with it, but my goal is, the War Driver project. That's part of the dissertation. The second part of it is, I'm trying to write a cybersecurity framework around it.
Mhm.
And I have legitimately no clue where to start. All I know is there's gaps that need to be filled. Yeah, are you planning on going to DEF CON this year?
No, sir, I don't have any free time for any conferences nowadays. So, I was like thinking, maybe in 5, 10 years or something, or when I'm invited. But no, I was looking for cons in the UK here, but it's just how time is here and limited for me now.
Yeah, I plan on going to DEF CON this year and just pretty much writing on a piece of cardboard, you know, asking people what they would like to see in a vehicle cybersecurity framework,
Mm,
and just getting their opinions because creating a framework is one thing, but it being industry recognized and adopted is another thing. And would people actually use it? So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I want to find out what is missing in some of the frameworks they're relying on and what they would like to see adopted into it. What would make it
yes.
worth it to be writing. You can write papers all day, but if no one uses the information, you're wasting your time.
Awesome. And with that one, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the audience for listening or watching us. See you next time.
Bye bye.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and keep up for next episode. Check out healinghackers.github.io and join us.